In 1962, Charles Van Doren, who was later a senior editor at Britannica, said, "The ideal encyclopedia should be radical. It should stop being safe." But if you know anything about the history of Britannica since 1962, it was anything but radical. Still a very completely safe, stodgy type of encyclopedia. Wikipedia, on the other hand, begins with a very radical idea. And that's for all of us to imagine a world in which every single person on the planet is given free access to the sum of all human knowledge, and that's what we're doing. So Wikipedia, you just saw the little demonstration of it. It's a freely licensed encyclopedia. It's written by thousands of volunteers all over the world in many, many languages. It's written using wiki software, which is the type of software he just demonstrated, so anyone can quickly edit and save, and it goes live on the internet immediately. And everything about Wikipedia is managed by virtually an all-volunteer staff. So when Yochai is talking about new methods of organization, he's exactly describing Wikipedia. And what I'm going to do today is tell you a little bit more about how it really works on the inside. So Wikipedia is owned by the Wikimedia Foundation, which I founded, a nonprofit organization. And our goal, the core aim of the Wikimedia Foundation, is to get a free encyclopedia to every single person on the planet. And so if you think about what that means, it means a lot more than just building a cool website. We're really interested in all the issues of the digital divide, poverty worldwide, empowering people everywhere to have the information that they need to make good decisions. And so we're going to have to do a lot of work that goes beyond just the internet. And so that's a big part of why we've chosen the free licensing model, because that empowers local entrepreneurs, or anyone who wants to can take our content and do anything they like with it. You can copy it, redistribute it, and you can do it commercially or non-commercially. So there's a lot of opportunities that are going to arise around Wikipedia all over the world. We're funded by donations from the public, and one of the more interesting things about that is how little money it actually takes to run Wikipedia. So Yochai showed you the graph of what the cost of a printing press was, and I'm going to tell you what the cost of Wikipedia is, but first I'll show you how big it is. So we've got over 600,000 articles in English. We've got 2 million total articles across many, many different languages. The biggest languages are German, Japanese, French. All the Western European languages are quite big. But only around 1/3 of all of our traffic to our web cluster is to the English Wikipedia, which is surprising to a lot of people. A lot of people think in a very English-centric way on the internet. But for us, we're truly global. We're in many, many languages. How popular we've gotten to be, we're a top 50 website. And we're more popular than the New York Times. So this is where we get to Yochai's discussion. This shows the growth of Wikipedia. We're the blue line there, and then this is the New York Times over there. And what's interesting about this is that the New York Times website is a huge, enormous corporate operation with I have no idea how many hundreds of employees. We have exactly one employee, and that employee is our lead software developer. And he's only been our employee since January 2005, all the other growth before that. So the servers are managed by a ragtag band of volunteers. All the editing is done by volunteers. And the way that we're organized is not like any traditional organization you can imagine. People are always asking, well, who's in charge of this or who does that? And the answer is anybody who wants to pitch in. It's a very unusual and chaotic thing. We've got over 90 servers now in 3 locations. These are managed by volunteer system administrators who are online. I can go online any time of the day or night and see 8 to 10 people waiting for me to ask a question or something, anything about the servers. You could never afford to do this in a company. You could never afford to have a standby crew of people 24 hours a day and do what we're doing at Wikipedia. So we're doing around 1.4 billion page views monthly. So it's really gotten to be a huge thing. And everything is managed by the volunteers, and the total monthly cost for our bandwidth is about $5,000, and that's essentially our main cost. We could actually do without the employee. We hired Brian because he was working part-time for 2 years and full-time at Wikipedia, so we actually hired him so he could get a life and go to the movies sometimes. So the big question when you've got this really chaotic organization is, why isn't it all rubbish? Why is the website as good as it is? First of all, how good is it? Well, it's pretty good. It isn't perfect, but it's much, much better than you would expect given our completely chaotic model. So when you saw him make a ridiculous edit to the page about me, you think, oh, this is obviously just going to degenerate into rubbish. But when we've seen quality tests, and there haven't been enough of these yet, and I'm really encouraging people to do more, comparing Wikipedia to traditional things, we win hands down. So a German magazine compared German Wikipedia, which is really much, much smaller than English, to Microsoft Encarta and to Brockhaus Multimedia, and we won across the board. They hired experts to come and look at articles and compare the quality, and we were very pleased with that result. So a lot of people have heard about the Wikipedia Bush-Kerry controversy. This is, the media has covered this somewhat extensively. Started out with an article in Red Herring. The reporters called me up, and I have to say, they spelled my name right, but they really wanted to say the Bush-Kerry election is so contentious, it's tearing apart the Wikipedia community. And so they quote me as saying they're the most contentious in the history of Wikipedia. What I actually said is they're not contentious at all. So it's a slight misquote. The articles were edited quite heavily, and it is true that we did have to lock the articles on a couple of occasions. Time magazine recently reported that extreme action sometimes has to be taken, and Wales locked the entries on Kerry and Bush for most of 2004. This came after I told the reporter that we had to lock it for occasionally a little bit here and there. So the truth in general is that the kinds of controversies that you would probably think we have within the Wikipedia community are not really controversies at all. Articles on controversial topics are edited a lot, but they don't cause much controversy within the community. And the reason for this is that most people understand the need for neutrality. The real struggle, the real struggle is not between the right and the left. That's what most people assume, but it's between the party of the thoughtful and the party of the jerks. And no side of the political spectrum has a monopoly on either of those qualities. The actual truth about the specific Bush-Kerry incident is that the Bush-Kerry articles were locked less than 1% of the time in 2004, and it wasn't because they were contentious. It was just because there was routine vandalism, which happens sometimes even on stage. People, sometimes even reporters have reported to me that they vandalized Wikipedia and were amazed that it was fixed so quickly. And I said, I always say, please don't do that. That's not a good thing. So how do we do this? How do we manage the quality control? How does it work? So there's a few elements, mostly social policies, and some elements of the software. So the biggest and the most important thing is our neutral point of view policy. This is something that I set down from the very beginning as a core principle of the community that's completely not debatable. It's a social concept of cooperation, so we don't talk a lot about truth and objectivity. The reason for this is if we say we're only going to write the truth about some topic, that doesn't do us a damn bit of good of figuring out what to write, because I don't agree with you about what's the truth. But we have this jargon term of neutrality, which has its own long history within the community, which basically says anytime there's a controversial issue, Wikipedia itself should not take a stand on the issue. We should merely report on what reputable parties have said about it. So this neutrality policy is really important for us because it empowers a community that is very diverse to come together and actually get some work done. So we have very diverse contributors in terms of political, religious, cultural backgrounds. By having this firm neutrality policy, which is non-negotiable from the beginning, we ensure that people can work together and that the entries don't become simply a war back and forth between the left and the right. If you engage in that type of behavior, you'll be asked to leave the community. So real-time peer review. Every single change on the site goes to the recent changes page. So as soon as he made his change, it went to the recent changes page. That recent changes page was also fed into IRC channel, which is an internet chat channel that people are monitoring with various software tools. And people can get RSS feeds. They can get email notifications of changes. And then users can set up their own personal watch list. So my page is on quite a few volunteers' watch lists because it is sometimes vandalized. And therefore, what happens is someone will notice the change very quickly.